Good night, everyone, and welcome to Dialogue with the Diaspora. I am Diane Haylock. Tonight, we have the pleasure of speaking to two outstanding Belizean brothers living in the United States, Hubert and Vincent Cacho, both retired from the US military and have moved on to equally exciting careers after retirement. Hubert Cacho served in the United States Air Force for 23 years and is now putting all the knowledge and experience from his military days at his job as a contracting officer at the US Army Contracting Command. Vincent Cacho served in the Army for 22 years, and he went on to pursue a career as a pilot, and he is now a first officer for Frontier Airlines, an American carrier that operates flights to over 100 destinations in the US and 31 destinations internationally. Vincent has a Master of Science degree in Occupational Safety and Health and Environmental Management. Hubert and Vincent, it is a pleasure to meet you both here. Welcome to Dialogue with the Diaspora.
Hello,
Now, this is a first for me to be interviewing two siblings. I'm really glad to have you both with us tonight. To get us started for our viewers, let's identify who is who. Who is Hubert? Who is Vincent?
I'm Hubert.
Okay. And so you're Vincent, indeed. All right. Who's the older of the two?
That would be Hubert.
Okay, so Hubert is the older of the two. And where are you both currently living in the US? Are you in the same city, the same place?
I am. I'm currently living in San Antonio, Texas.
San Antonio, Texas.
Yes.
And I am living in Atlanta, Georgia, but I am based in Orlando, Florida, and currently in Orlando, Florida right now.
Well, one of the first things we do on our show is to establish your Belizean roots, your connections. People want to know, where did you grow up? Who's your family? So let me start off with you, Hubert. And Vincent, please feel free to chime in on this question of Belizean roots connections.
We were born in Rancho Dolores, which is
Rancho Dolores.
Yes. But grew up in Belize City, mostly around Heights Lane. We started off in Grand Sally, and then from there, after the family moved to the States, we kind of moved around to different places throughout the city, north side, south side.
When did you first leave for the US? Did you go separately or together?
Separately. Vincent came to the US before I did. I actually had a short career with Belize Electricity Limited for about 2.5 years before I came to the States. So
we both went to Holy Redeemer. That's where we did our primary school. And then went to St. John's College, SJC, for our college. I believe I was 2 years behind my brother. And I came to the US immediately after, not immediately, but a couple months after finishing high school. And then I joined the Army pretty much 4 months later, just to get some money for college. And that's where my Army career started.
All right, let's talk a bit about that journey. What motivated you to go to the US in the first place, and also to then subsequently join the US military? Vincent?
Well, I just followed my parents, basically. My mom and dad had moved to the US before we finished school. So we moved, again, after high school is when our papers were pretty much ready. And I left right after high school. I graduated in June, I believe, 83 from SJC, and I moved in August. And again, like I said earlier, I wanted some money. I needed money to go to college. Parents couldn't afford college back in those days. So one day the Army recruiter called me up and told me about the Army College Fund. And I thought that was sounded like a good idea, a good deal, and joined for 3 years initially. They were actually offering me a bonus, $4,000 to sign up for 4 years. I told him, nope, I'll just do 3 years and, get my college money. And again, realized that things were going pretty good, so I ended up staying for 22 years, as you mentioned earlier.
How about you, Hubert?
It's pretty much the same. It was always instilled in us that when we moved to the U.S., the best deal was to go in the military. So I opted for the Air Force, joined in May of 1986, and 23 years later on, I retired and into my second career. I'm 11 years into my second career. So.
You said something earlier, Vincent, about following your parents who had migrated much earlier. Does that mean that both or either of them had joined the U.S. military after they went to the U.S.?
No, my dad was an accountant, so he was, they lived in New York. So my dad was an accountant in New York. I believe he worked for the Urban League. And my mom was just a homekeeper. So neither one was in the military. And again, we had no knowledge, or I had no knowledge about the U.S. military until a recruiter called me one day. And I believe they got my number from one of my cousins.
And when you don't have the resources, the military is definitely an avenue to be able to go on to get your higher education, no?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, with me, again, I completed my bachelor's while I was in the Army, and after I retired, I retired December 2005, and I completed my master's after I retired, and then started my second career after that.
Hubert, I understand that as part of your job in the Air Force, you actually worked in Belize for some time. Tell us about that.
Well, it actually started after I retired, so I wasn't active duty at the time. I retired from the Air Force and then got a job with the 410th Contracting Support Brigade, which is the Army, and they support Southcom, U.S. Southern Command, which is a component of the Army, who does different missions, exercises, and projects in Belize, in Central America, South America, and the Caribbean. So I was lucky to get a couple of projects in Belize. I think my first project was the solar system out at Calabash Key, doing solar panels and vertical wind turbine. And then I also did a project in Hattieville. It was a community center for Hattieville. One other project was a power line for the Belize Coast Guard out in San Pedro. And my last project I did in Belize, I didn't get to finish it, was the fire station up in Belmopan. I think they just recently got finished with that.
So what was the length of time you actually spent on these various projects in Belize?
Well, it would just be site visits. So I would come up for a week just to meet with the contractors, go out to the sites, do the site visit, and then head back to the U.S. So it wasn't more than a week at a time.
Okay.
That I would have to go. The projects varied in length. I mean, I think the community center in Hattieville took close to a year to complete, and the other ones were more like the solar system and the power lines. Those were more like 6 months. Those didn't last as long. And then the fire station in Belmopan, that took over a year, and it's because before they could get finished is when COVID started. So I'm not even sure if they're done yet.
I'm not sure myself, but yeah, it's good to know that you had the opportunity to work on these projects here. What was that like for you?
It was actually very rewarding to know that I could come back and contribute or had some type of hand in what was going on in Belize. So to me, that was, it was rewarding. I still have a lot of friends and family back in Belize, so it was good to be able to meet back up with my family and friends, and while I was still working.
Vincent, I want to go back to your educational background, and I'm particularly keen on the fact that you did your master's in occupational safety and health and environmental management. And it's in my estimation, an extremely important area, but it seems as if you went on to do something different after that. Tell us about that.
So in the Army, I was actually a helicopter pilot. And in the Army, since all the pilots, basically, we always had to do an additional duty, we call it. So there's 4 tracks. You either track safety, instructor pilot, operations, or maintenance. So I decided to track safety route just because I knew that was also a lucrative career on the outside if the aviation thing didn't work out for whatever reason. So I actually did that same job in the Army, conducted safety training, did a lot of safety educational training also while I was in there, which is why I decided to do my master's in that field. And in the airline business, they want you to have a bachelor's degree minimum, but it doesn't really matter what degree it's in. So again, my plan was to have something as a backup in case the aviation industry didn't work out. In the US, the airline industry is very is cyclical. You know, a lot of people always end up getting furloughed or laid off. And COVID was a big example of that. When COVID happened, a lot of my buddies got laid off. Fortunately, we call it furloughed. Fortunately, I did not get furloughed because I was senior enough at Frontier to not have to get furloughed. But again, I had a backup as a safety guy, you know, and again, since I'm retired, I would have been fine anyway. From the retired from the Army, I would have been fine.
Yeah, but it's good to have something you can fall back on, especially in these times, isn't it?
Definitely, for sure.
And how about you with your job, Hubert?
My job, since COVID started, so it's been over a year, I've been working from home. So that's been a blessing. So I was able to, working for the government, retain my job and not have to worry about getting furloughed or just laid off or whatever. So I think I've been blessed to be able to keep my job and work from home and, you know, continue to.
So your work at this point in time is pretty much being done virtually?
Yes, all of it.
All right, guys, we have to take a short break, but we will be right back with you to finish our discussion.
Thank you.
All right.
Welcome back to Dialogue with the Diaspora. Diane Haylock here with you again. Tonight we have been speaking with 2 Belizean brothers who are living in the US, Hubert and Vincent Cacho. Vincent, I wanted to ask you what inspired you to become a pilot and what was that journey like?
Oh, yeah. So it all started when I was stationed in Panama. I actually used to work with the helicopters, refueling them. And one day, one of my captains asked me, said, "Hey, why don't you apply to go to flight training?" And I'm like, "I can do that?" He said, "Sure, just apply. If they accept you, they'll train you." So I applied and got accepted to flight school and did my helicopter training at Fort Rucker, Alabama. That's after about 8 to 9 years of being an enlisted guy. I got up to being an NCO as an enlisted. So anyway, I did that, and when I retired, a lot of my buddies were talking about going to work for the airlines. So then I got an interest in working for the airlines. So once I retired, I went to get my fixed wing license, we call it. So I kind of, again, the military helped me with that. using the GI Bill. I think they paid 40%. And then eventually I went to be a flight instructor, and they paid 100% at that time when I went to be a flight instructor back in 2013, I think it was. So that's how the aviation career got started. Initially, I had to work as I got a job with Mesa Airlines initially, which is a regional airline, flying the smaller jets. Those jets held a maximum of 76 passengers. So I did that for almost 4 years, and then that gave me enough time to apply to Frontier. I got hired at Frontier Airlines in November of 2018. I quit Mesa in October of 2018, got hired in November with Frontier, and been there since then. You know, again, in the Army, it wasn't an easy journey. Being a minority, we do face some challenges, but again, I was able to get through all that. And again, in the airline industry also, met a few challenges, but again.
Yeah, in fact, you know, I'm glad you mentioned that, because that is certainly one of the questions that I have for you. It is my understanding that approximately maybe 3% of commercial pilots are actually Black. So what does that accomplishment mean for you? And what has been your experience? I mean, have you had any challenges being Black in this particular field?
There are some challenges. I'm not sure what all I can say right now, but yeah.
Well,
but
you say as much as you are comfortable with.
Yeah. So the last thing I heard is like 6% of commercial pilots in the U.S. are Black. I'm part of a group called it's called OBAP, Organization of Black Aerospace Professionals. And the purpose of that group is to, for the most part, try to level the playing field and for us to network and help each other out in this industry, because again, it is not easy. You know, there are some challenges just being Black and being a minority. So far, Frontier have not had any issues. It happened more so in the at the regional level. And also in the Army, I've faced some challenges also. But so far, Frontier has been great. Have not had any issue at Frontier. Leadership has been great, and the pilot group has been great also.
Where do you fly? What are the different places you fly to? Because I understand that Frontier is a domestic as well as an international carrier.
Yeah, we don't really have, you know, I don't have a specific route. So every month we build a schedule, and I pretty much fly coast to coast. The international stuff that we do are Cancun, we do Santo Domingo, we just started doing Guatemala, El Salvador, we do Canada, mostly Caribbean stuff. We just started doing Costa Rica also, we do Jamaica. And I'm gonna write a letter to my ops manager here to try and lobby them to get Belize on that list also. I think we can do good work in Belize.
That'll be great. That'll be great if you're able to do that, because we're always looking to welcome new carriers into Belize, you know, to broaden the reach of where our visitors to Belize are actually coming from.
Right.
So yeah, so you have some work there to promote Belize for us, huh?
Yes, ma'am, we'll do. That's on my list for sure. It'd be great if you can come there, and you know, for me to basically come home and spend some nights there also.
Indeed, that would be great. Yeah, Hubert, let's come back to you. I know that you said that you're currently working virtually, but do you still have opportunities to perhaps work in Belize again? Do you see that possibility down the road?
At the moment, no, because I kind of switched jobs in what I'm doing. Instead of being a contracting officer, I'm working what we call on the pre-award side of the house, where I review the packages that needs to go to contracting before they get awarded. So the unit I work for, we're responsible for over 75 different bases or installations. And being the headquarters, all their requirement packages need to come through our headquarters. Anything over a certain threshold needs to come to our headquarters for review and to get approved before it goes to contracting.
So it's a lot more administrative, if you will, at this point in time?
Yes, a lot more administrative. We write a lot of policies and do a lot of training to the folks out in the fields. So,
Do you see yourself pretty much continuing in this area?
um, yes, at some point, I'd like to get back into actually writing contracts. It would be nice to. I love traveling, so it would be nice to get back into a position where I can start coming back to Belize and throughout Central and South America. So,
Well, talking about traveling, how often do either of you make it back to Belize to visit? Apart from the fact that you've been able to do it via your job, Hubert, how often do you make it back home to visit us?
well, I try to come at least once or twice a year. My last visit was the Christmas before COVID started. So, and then before that, I came for one of my cousin's graduation. I'm trying to think that was in May of 2019, I guess, because COVID started in 20. Yeah. So, yeah, but my last visit was Christmas of 2019.
So you're hankering for COVID to be over, huh?
Yes, then Belize will probably be my first trip back.
Yes, we're all waiting for that day. And how about you, Vincent?
I try to come back at least once or twice a year also. Matter of fact, I just left Belize not this past Sunday, but the Sunday before that.
Oh.
I was there for a week. And that's when I met one of my buddies, Joe Garrell, and he the one that I guess got me hooked up with Audrey there.
Oh, great. Okay, good. Yes, we've been having some interesting experiences reaching out to our diaspora because we really want to hear what our people are doing in all these various parts of the world, right?
Oh, yes.
Let's look ahead a bit then. What are your plans or goals for the future? Hubert, you? Any specifics other than what you have already shared?
Well, my goal is to hopefully retire for a second time in about 4 to 5 years. And I'm very flexible. At one point, my plan was to try to move back to Belize, but it depends on what happens in my life within the next 4 or 5 years. I'm very willing to move back to Belize.
Good.
As I said, still have a lot of friends and families back in Belize, so I enjoy spending time in Belize. So.
And Belize does need its sons and daughters, especially people who have been able to get their education, you know, their training in all of these very, very different areas. How about you, Vincent?
Well, as a commercial airline pilot, I have to retire at 65. So my plans are to continue working until 65. And after that, might do something else in the industry, possibly come back to Belize. I have a buddy that works at the airport there now too, that's doing some stuff in aviation. So, you know, maybe I can come back and help him. But again, wide open at this moment right now.
We particularly look forward to hearing ideas that our guests may have to offer advice to our young men and women in Belize in terms of pursuing or trying to succeed in some non-traditional careers. Do you have anything that you might offer our young people here in that area, in that regard?
Well, I would say again, when I remember the first time my captain, when I was in the Army, the captain told me, hey, why don't you apply for flight training? Again, coming from Belize and parents of modest means, I had no clue or idea that I could have accomplished what I've accomplished now. So we have a program in our same OBAP group that does pilots in school. So we go speak to the high school kids and actually kindergarten all the way through high school to encourage them that, you know, no matter what race they are, what color they are, or whatever the case may be, you know, anything is achievable. So I would say the same thing to my, you know, fellow Belizeans, you know, again, if I could do it, anybody can do it, you know, so the sky is the limit when it comes to what we can achieve. And we have some very smart people in Belize. So,
Indeed. Yes. Hubert?
All I would say is if the opportunity is there, get higher education because it's so competitive out here. You'll stay a step ahead of the competition with the higher level education that you can achieve, highest level of education you can achieve. So just strive for your education and put your all into it. And I think eventually you'll be successful also because I still don't know what I want to be when I grow up. I've just been going with the flow pretty much. So.
But the point is, having an education is absolutely essential, whatever you ultimately do in your life.
It is, unless your name is Bill Gates, yeah.
Gentlemen, any final words before we depart?
All I would say is it's been a pleasure speaking with you, and thanks for this opportunity to pretty much just tell people, what we've been doing here and pretty much how we're still connected to our motherland. So.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I would echo the same thing, and that's why when Audrey asked me if I was interested in doing this, I did not hesitate because I know that just our sharing our story could hopefully inspire or maybe encourage a few people to basically just follow their dreams. Absolutely.
Well, gentlemen, it really has been a pleasure having you join me here in tonight's conversation. I want to wish you the very best as you continue on your career path. And I certainly want to encourage you to come back home if that is definitely something you are inclined to do, because Belize needs her sons and daughters.
Yes, thank you.
All right. Thank you. The pleasure has been mine.
Viewers, we are about to take our final ad break, but we will be right back. Friends, thank you for staying tuned into Dialogue with the Diaspora. We're at the end of another interesting dialogue with Belizeans living abroad. Our guests tonight, the brothers Hubert and Vincent Cacho, remind us of many Belizean families who have had to migrate to the United States to seek better opportunities and to enjoy professions that are not yet perhaps as advanced in Belize. We're happy that both have been able to do extremely well in their careers while enjoying avenues to work in Belize and to visit home. Here at Dialogue with the Diaspora, we do not necessarily wish for other Belizeans to experience and need to leave Belize for greater opportunities. But as it pertains to those who have been able to do so, we hope they continue to lend their expertise and testimonies of hope and success in order to support and inspire those of us at home, especially our young people, as they venture towards their independence and adulthood. Hubert and Vincent, we thank you both for tonight's lovely conversation. You both give us hope, and we thank you for having joined us. On that note, I will sign off for now, but we remind you that we will be back here again next Thursday at 7 p.m. right here on CBTV and Colorblind's Facebook page. Good night and take very good care.